It's time for a What's Up with Nora. Ooh, hey. What's up with that? Ooh, hey. What's up with Nora? Ooh, hey. What's up with that?
No. Well.
Hey everybody, what's up? What's up? Welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for all showing up. And for waiting. Yeah. The last thank you for the compliments on my hat, Haggis Basher. This is actually a Giants hat from a long time ago. Yeah. I'm having a hard time today, guys. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. There's been a lot going on in this noggin of mine for the last this weekend. And yesterday, we touched on some stuff that's, pretty intense. And today is a, I have scheduled another unbelievably intense day because I wanted to give some more insights into Johnny and Alex, both of whom I knew. And as I was preparing for the show today, I watched a really ridiculously, absolutely cheese doodle film with one of my kids, and I thought, okay, this is gonna, get me kind of clear my mind out, and it really, really hasn't. This is the odd thing about, childhood trauma, and in my case, the first 26 years of my life being spent in a completely elevated state, and then not getting any help for another 14 years. So I talked about this book yesterday. I still want you guys to get it. For me in particular, and for people who lived this experience. It's a very powerful thing to begin to grapple with the things that have popped up, right? Coupled with the fact I had to get up super early this morning to go to the airport and come back, and it's so lack of sleep isn't helping. But I feel like we're on the precipice of something enormous, right? And I wanted to go over this 2-hour interview, which in itself is also very, very intense, because of the subjects that it. Thank you guys. I love you guys. Because of the subject that they covered. Now, if I do want to bring it up maybe I won't go over the whole thing because I already listened to this interview, which is a fantastic interview. This, of course, is done by Jeffrey Augustine. This is his channel here, the Scientology Money Project. Let me put him in there. If you guys aren't subbed and you haven't watched it, it's 2 hours. It's well worth your 2 hours to watch this interview because of the really, I want to say, like, can I make that? That's better. That's better. The invaluable information that is gone over in this video between him and Jamie. They share several references during this time. Okay, so this is a little bit about Johnny and his early stardom here. Of course, he was on Sons of Anarchy. Now, they talked about this particular photo, which is a very powerful photo. Here is Heber Jentzch, the former president of the Church of Scientology International. I say former because there's nobody doing that job, and I don't know if Heber is still alive or not, to be honest with you. And that's tiny baby, like 4-year-old Alex, who has been given a custom-made, little baby fake Space Navy costume to wear. In Heber's hand here is an officiating book because this is a wedding. And at this wedding that Heber is the minister, here's baby Alex. And they spoke a lot about children being used as a prop. And they brought up something that I forgot had happened. Heber was one of the people implicated in Snow White, but also he was arrested in Spain internationally, right? Because they were like, Scientology's not a fucking religion. You're a fucking criminal. Get to fucking jail. And again, they used Alex. Where did he go? Boop, boop, boop. Come back. That's not Alex. There's Alex. Look at him in his little propaganda shirt. Okay, but where's the footage here? This. So they used him with a lawyer on TV, on international TV, to be like, bring home my dad. Yeah. And to hear Jeff tell Alex's story and how he ended up in the Sea Organization, they bring up some other documents. They go over the brutalness of how Johnny's life ended, as well as the lies told to everybody about Alex's death. And I'm just reminded that these two really, really sweet kids, because they were kids when they passed away. I mean, I'm almost 50, guys, and these guys didn't even make it to see 30. They were so brutalized by this institution, by this evil, evil institution. Hey, Brian, good to see you. And I was thinking a lot about Johnny today in particular because I knew Johnny since he was about 10 years old. When I first moved to LA at 18 in 1994, I took a job at Lewis Carroll. Um, that was Devonna Lewis's school that she had started with. I can't remember her first name, but Carol. They had an upset. They had some sort of like feud or whatever, and Devonna took the school over, but kept the name because it was like their last names, but also like a play on Lewis Carroll, obviously, because it was the Academy of the Arts. And then Carol, the woman, Mrs. Carroll, went on to form the Carol Reese Academy with another person named Reese, etc. And they were like competing Scientology schools, big rivalry, like the Sharks and the Jets, competing for the rich people's money to teach their children absolutely trash nothing. And then, hire 18-year-olds like me to teach PE and reading because, of course, my public school education fully qualified me to teach physical education to kindergarten through 12th graders, including my own younger sister, who was 15. So, yeah, but I met Johnny. And I used to drive him and his older sister Anna and his younger brother to school every day. I would pick them up at their house because they lived a few blocks from where I lived, and I would drive them to school with my sister, sometimes with another kid in tow, and they were just like the sweetest kids. The sweetest. And Johnny and another kid had like these so like 80s like mullety hair, and he was just this little like entertainer who was just like the sweetest kid. And then after I joined the Sea Org, I didn't obviously see him as much, but then one year he and his sister and his younger brother Eric, they all came to do their training. And I think about that like basically like a couple years where they were there like all the time, and Johnny was also a rascally teen. Scientology teens are rascally, and they do teenage stuff, but he couldn't get in too much trouble, right? Because, his parents were super rich and they were at the top of the thing and everybody loved them, right? So like, as an example, when he was, doing this mass indoctrination to become a counselor, he and another teen were in the film room, and I had put the film on for them, indoctrination film. And instead of watching the film, which was like over 2 hours, right, they were just like making out in the they were the only two people in there, so they're bored teens. What are we gonna do? And it made me laugh because I couldn't, I didn't find out about it until like way later. It came up in somebody's, interrogation or something, right? And it was funny to me because like part of me, because I went to public school, was like, right, like that's when you make out in a movie. Like I joked with my friends at the time, if you guys remember the film Say Anything, from the 80s, which is a great film. I went to that film 8 times in the theater. However, I watched it once and I heard the soundtrack 7 times. Let's put it that way. I was busy. during the film. But the other half of me, that of course was a very dedicated fake Space Navy member, had to be furious, with them. And they had just degraded, L. Ron Hubbard and blah, 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 right? Yeah. But of course that got swept under the rug because, as Jamie correctly points out in this film, his father, Michael Lewis, who, where did that go? I had it open on another tab here. Michael Lewis is a very, very busy bee. Okay. Michael Lewis is still alive. Where did the other thing go? So there's a story they tell about Michael Lewis that I'm going to let Jeff tell because it's so fucking disgusting. A few years back, as you know, like he's lost Johnny, and his wife Devonna passed away from cancer, from skin cancer. Now that's the way most people who have ascended in that group end up, right? Because they believe that they don't have any worries because they're a superhuman who, can overcome anything, right? So they don't go to the doctor when they don't feel good. They just do more Scientology to handle it, right? Yeah. And the story that they tell of what happened to Michael after that is interesting. But he's very busy. I just want to show you guys something. They didn't talk about this. These were like the little things I was going to fill in. So Michael Lewis has a nom de plume, a pen name, a nom de plume. And that is Martin Landon. And he writes, of course, Martin Landon is happy to say that at present, he's not doing anything he doesn't love. Using Scientology, he helps people daily, both one-on-one through life coaching and globally through his webinars. He has also authored books, movies, plays, TV shows, and comic strips, and currently writes for Stand, right? Which, of course, is the misnamed Scientology hate site. This is something he wrote on my birthday last year. Scientologists taking a stand against, whatever the fuck they're doing. It's just, it should be the STAAD, discrimination. Yeah. So this is his current gig, right? So he's now a widower. He's a widower. Yes, he's a widower. Who's lost his middle child, Johnny, his oldest son. And let's talk about that in brief because I want to say something about that. I want to rewind the clock here a little bit. So I, did all that training with Johnny and Anna and all them. Anna's in the Sea Organization, his older sister. I feel partially responsible for that. Back in the day, Michael Lewis, his dad, and I had a picture of him up somewhere. I don't know where that went, but oh, that's what I did. I downloaded it. Just give me a second here. So Michael Lewis, his dad, even though he was the top auditor in outside of an organization on planet Earth, okay, like delivering more counseling, right, and getting more new people in than pretty much anybody else, right? Is that it? No, that's, where did it go? Oh, it must be here. Hi. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I'm trying. Thank you, love. I'm sorry. My wife says I'm not allowed to murder myself, guys, for the internet. So she means it. Don't test her. I love you.
How long are we doing?
I don't know. I just started. Okay. I know, love. I'm working on it. I didn't do the thing. Yeah. I changed my mind. I'm not doing the other thing. I'm just, yeah. I'm talking to everybody. We're just chit chatting. I'm just I'm an emotional wreck as usual. I love you. Okay. Okay. So this is Michael Lewis. Okay. This is Johnny's dad. That toupee is older than me. Where's my thing? That is, sorry guys. My whole the 30 years that I have known this man, he has not gotten a new toupee. Okay, and he was making millions of dollars off of the school and off of this, brainwashing counseling for decades, and still can't afford a decent toupee. Yeah. Okay, so this is a photo of him. He's a big, as you can see from his other picture that I pulled up, he loves those gnats. No, somehow the fallen god powers do not include. Yeah, it's a toupee. It's a toupee. Yeah. They make good ones now. The whole Reddit is going to go insane because people are like, why are you always attacking men's hairlines? They can't do anything about it, but you could stop drinking soda. That's true. I could. But mostly I keep doing it because it just really pisses off the internet. Okay. Now that we've got everyone enraged. Yeah. So this is Michael Lewis. And when his children were young, his 3 children, he didn't want them to join the fake space Navy. He was very, very, very against it. Now, this is a man over here, Nora. It's always the opposite. This is a man who trained under Lafayette Ronald. Okay? He trained with Lafayette Ronald. Was in, the whole thing since then. His wife, too. Long timer. Okay? Both he and his wife, also Jewish. Always celebrating the Jewish holidays. I'm going to get to that. He told his 3 children to tell recruiters for the fake space Navy that they could not. I know, Peter, I'm disappointed with the owners of Coca-Cola, but I'm addicted and I love it. And I've tried all the other sodas I can. I'm trying my best. He told the recruiters for the fake space Navy, he told his children to tell the recruiters, rather, that they had taken LSD. And so they could not join, including his 7-year-old. So every time a recruiter would come to them and say, hey, how you doing? Hey there. They'd be like, oh, sorry, LSD. Now, of course, they don't know what LSD is, but that is the only drug that if you have taken it in the mid 70s, that became a substance that would make you persona non grata. And many children born to Scientology parents purposely did take it so that they could not be recruited. I should have done that. I should have done that. It was offered to me in high school. I should have just done that and saved myself a lot of shit. So somebody finally was like, what the fuck? How could 3 children, not 1, not 2, but all 3 children of 2 of the most prominent, highest level members all have miraculously taken this drug? So, of course, they did a full investigation. And they put all of the children into this like fucking nasty interrogation. And of course, they found out that it was this guy. That guy, right? Who fucking did it. So he got in big trouble. He had to go do like, big project, had to do, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So cut to a few years later. Johnny's now 16. He's been getting a lot of acting gigs, and Anna's about to join the Sea Org. She's 18. What else is she going to do? What else is she going to do? What else does she have to offer the world? Apparently nothing. And I get a phone call that from the president's office, that I have to take a specific night off because I have to go to something I'd never heard of before. I didn't know what it was. And I was like, okay. And they're like, put on your best clothes, right? I said, all right. So I borrow a car, and it turns out that Johnny had invited me to his bar mitzvah. This is actually when he's 13. Sorry, no, when he was 16. And the 16-year-old story is later. And he invited me because he wanted me to. And like I said, I'd never been to a bar mitzvah. I knew people in school who were Jewish, and that's like all I knew about them. I didn't know anything about Judaism. I didn't know what a bar mitzvah entailed, what it meant. But he asked for me to be there because he wanted me to light a candle because he had named me as one of the most influential people in his life. And when I think back on that now, I'm filled with so much regret, because later when he got his driver's license, he was getting all kinds of tickets. and he kept blaming it on me when he would get an interrogation as to why he got the ticket, because when I was driving him to school, I was a very bad driver. I was 18 and I would drive way too fast and, drive like I was on a racetrack, and he thought that that was a really cool way to drive. And then after I left and escaped, the whole thing, I was invited by another, I say kid, these people are all in their 40s now, but anyway, I was invited by another, at the time they weren't, who I was also the teacher of. He was playing in his band at the Viper Room. And so I was standing in line to get into the Viper room, and I saw Johnny. And let me just, I recognized him. I don't think he expected to see me in that moment. And he looked like this. I'll just pull this up. He looked, very cool. And I did not look as cool. He was always wearing this fakakta scarf. I don't know what that was about, but anyway. He was with Katy Perry. I didn't know who she was at the time. She wasn't anybody at the time. She was just a pretty girl who was with Johnny. And I said, Johnny, it's me. And he gave me this very awkward hug and introduced me to his girlfriend. And then he just didn't and then that was the end of our conversation. And I felt really angry in that moment. I felt like I was trash to him in that moment, because I had left. Because I had left, the working for the fake Space Navy, and that designates you as as a piece of trash, right? That's what they tell you. There's a piece of doctrine that Lafayette Ronald wrote that says so. Says that anybody who leaves the Sea Organization is a degraded being. Oh, God, I'm going to break my nose. And so I thought that was how Johnny saw me. And I didn't talk to him again. And when by the time Sons of Anarchy came out, I was already out of Scientology and secretly talking to people online and, under a pseudonym and all that stuff. And I had been refusing to watch any content that involved anybody that was in Scientology. And so I still have never watched the show. And then oh God. And then the news happened, and I saw on the news what had become of him. And I say that because I didn't find out until later, the full story. Fucking hell. Sorry, everybody. That's a lot of noise in the microphone. And I went to his memorial. And everybody was there. And when I say everybody was there, I mean everybody was there. His cast, so many actors from Hollywood showed up to honor him. His whole family, the people I had worked with at the school, and all of the kids that I had taught came out. And for a moment, we were just people remembering a friend of ours who who wasn't there anymore. And I'll never forget seeing his sister Anna, who she was being walked in by two people. And because she's in the Sea Organization, she didn't know anything. She didn't know anything that had gone on with her brother. She didn't know that he had been arrested and like all these things, right? Like that he was like in this just, like his life was blowing up. I didn't know either because frankly, I wasn't watching the show. I didn't care. And watching that interview with Jamie and Jeff really like hit me hard because there was things I found out about that I didn't know, and they didn't talk about things that I know, obviously. But when I think about the series of events that led up to his death and what happened after, he has a daughter. He has a young daughter who's probably, God, she must be like 14 now. Something like that, 14 or 15 or 13. Yeah, something like that. And so many things reminded me of stuff. It's just, I felt this tremendous guilt well up at me. When he passed, I just felt sadness. I just felt this overwhelming sadness because he was so young and I hadn't gotten to talk to him again. And then when I found out, like for those of you who don't know, Johnny had a motorcycle accident a few months before his passing. And he had what's known as a traumatic brain injury. And this was evident by what happened to him after. And Jamie corroborates this in his telling of like his relationship with Johnny. But Johnny was one of the most nonviolent people I've ever known. He got beat up once as a kid, and I was like, bro, what the fuck, man? Like, don't let this fucking asshole do that. You got to stand up. Like, he was just not, it was not in his nature. He was not somebody who, the way his life ended was never in my mind, in the farthest reach of the most crazy possibility way for anybody I knew to go out. It just, oh, Liz, see? Hi, Liz. Thanks for being here. Right? He was just like the sweetest, right? He was not, there was no, like, there's just no violence in him. He was just this, like, he was this little, like, a living piece of sunshine, So he got a traumatic brain injury. He started, he was broke. And of course, his parents weren't, doing what he needed. He ended up in a psych ward after some criminal activity. And they had put him on some, stuff that was like actually helping regulate him. And they convinced the judge to have him come out of the program that he was in that was successfully helping him to do, Rockanon. And so his parents were just going to, deliver the program to him, on their own, and they were going to do all this stuff. So there's a big thing in the belief system from Lafayette Ronald where if a situation is going awry, or if you need to, okay, like this is something my mom used to say to me when I was playing basketball. Okay. So that analogy will make it clear in your mind. When I would sit at the free throw line and I'd have 2 shots. If I missed the first shot, my mom would scream out from the stands, "New unit of time, Nora." And everyone in the stands was like, what the fuck? Right? And it's just sort of like, you're supposed to, when you hear this ridiculous phrase, you're supposed to like, it's very like Luke Skywalker-y, like, who's the Force, Luke? um, but you're supposed to create a brand new kind of universe that you're in that's brand new. It's not part of the universe you were just in, but it's brand new. It's a new unit of time where you are now in total control, right? And sometimes that helped. I just sort of would like take a big deep breath and like center myself. And I would oftentimes make my second shot, but that's me. That wasn't a new unit of time, You know what I'm saying? And so they were trying to like apply that kind of philosophy to Johnny at the time. And so they decided to take him back to the beginning where he was last successful. This is another very Scientological thing. Like if everything in your life starts fucking up, you go back to the last place you were truly successful and you start from there. You just come forward from there and try again. Right. So that's why he ended up at that house. Right. Because earlier in his career, he had stayed there. And because they didn't have him on the correct medication anymore, they just, quit that cold turkey because, they know better. Somebody who needs antipsychotics and doesn't have them and has a traumatic brain injury and their personality has completely shifted. Ends up in the way that Johnny did. Who knows what set him off because he murdered his landlady, so we can never ask her. He assaulted the guy working on the house and then, murdered his landlady and dismembered a cat. And then when 2 of the other workers were like chasing him around because he's Looney Tunes, he got up on the roof and offed himself from the roof of the house. Yeah, Liz, 100%. 100%. Where would we be now if we had gotten real mental health help in our teens? Like, fuck's sake, man. And, the news was just like, this is one of the most gruesome murders we've ever seen. It was awful. It was absolutely awful. Now, here's where the story gets worse. So his daughter, who was 2 or 3 at the time, I cannot remember how old she was when he passed in 2012. She was, he had a relationship with a cast member and she got pregnant and they weren't together as a couple, but like he was supporting his daughter. She was with a man. I think she'd gotten married and, and that's all good. I mean, that's stability, right? For this young girl. Now, because Johnny had done a number of, major acting things that were paying him residuals. Okay. He's entitled to those residuals and his daughter would be entitled to those residuals as his next of kin. Okay. Makes sense. Happy ending, kind of, right? No. So when Johnny started getting in trouble with the law, he, for an actor, it's like if you book a thing, you're going to get like a steady paycheck and then you don't when you're off the thing, right? And then you have to wait for the residuals to come in, which is years and years later, right? Like take somebody like Leah as an example, right? So when she was on King of Queens, obviously you're getting those paychecks for every episode that you make and things like that. That makes sense, okay? Because you're working. And then when the show's over, you don't have paycheck anymore, right? Until you get your next gig. Okay. However, you don't start getting residuals, right? Which is the payment you get from revenue when the show is sold and put into what's called syndication, right? And depending upon the vastness of that syndication, you could get as much as, there's a lot of actors that have been posting online like, hey, my residual check came in and it's like literally like $1.47. Like it's awful. Okay. But for people like, and this is how important things like this are. As an example, when Bill Cosby got convicted, every single station around the world that had been rerunning all of those years of the Cosby Show cut it off. So all of those actors who had been kids on that show and things like that, who were like, I'm good, I'm set, right? They don't got no more money. But somebody like Nancy Cartwright, as an example, who's still collecting an active paycheck because The Simpsons is still on the air, is also raking in on a daily basis tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. I can't even count the money for the residuals for all of the syndication around the world because The Simpsons has been going for 30 years now. Yeah. So that's a lot of money. So when Johnny had been down on his luck, he borrowed 60 grand from his parents. And then he passed away. And so these parents did exactly what I would expect Scientology parents to do. Did they go, hey, we have a grandkid out there. There's a piece of Johnny living on in the world. Obviously, we want our grandchild to be taken care of. Do you guys think they did that? Of course not. Of course not. They fought in court, her mother, to get the residuals from Johnny's income, so they could recoup their 60 grand. Now, I promise you that they did that at the behest of the behemoth known as Scientology, because Johnny was a downstat. He was evil, obviously, and he stole from you. And also because they wanted that motherfucking money. Let's be honest. Okay. So when I heard that yesterday, I didn't know that piece of the story until Jamie talked about that, or Jeff rather. And it reminded me of when my own father passed in 1995 of a massive heart attack. I was 19. My sister was 15. It was like 12 days before her 16th birthday. And because my dad was a Vietnam vet, any children under the age of 18 would receive like a one-time death benefit from the VA, which was, it was $2,500, guys. It really wasn't anything to toot your horn about for like sacrificing your sanity for this country in Vietnam. But anyway, my sister got that money. She was still living at the time with my step-whore, K Kilo. And within 2 weeks of my father passing, Kay was going out on dates and telling my sister, I have to translate this from Scientology's into regular English, so forgive me. She was getting ready for a date and she was wearing a very skimpy outfit, let's put it that way, primping herself in the mirror. This is the way my sister told me this. And she said, God, you know, I was just not myself when your father was alive. I mean, I'm just so glad to get back to being the real me. She took that money from my sister, all of it, said that she was owed it because, you know, it's you know, she's taking care of someone who wasn't really her kid, and my sister should pay rent and, you know, be equal with her at the age of 16. When my sister called me, I was, you know, I had to go back to my job. She called me and told me this. I called Kay from the classroom on the third floor. I'll never forget this conversation. I was in what's called the course admin space, the course administrator space, right? Which really wasn't a space. It was just like this little kind of alcove. It had a window. I could see the cafe in the courtyard. And I'm holding this phone like right to my face like this, you know, just. And I said, you listen to me. If my sister ever calls me again crying the way that she was, and I hear that you say one more motherfucking thing about my father to her, I'm going to fucking kill you. And she started screaming at me, you can't talk to me like that. You're in the Sea Org and you're blah, 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 you know, and like I'm OT and you get your ethics in and you get your manners. And she's just using like all the Scientologies. And I said, you listen to me very carefully. I don't give one fucking shit about that. I will fucking murder you and I will go to fucking jail. I don't care. I want you to understand what I'm telling you. If you ever even think about doing that again, I will come for you. And she said, okay, you want everything? You can have your dad's debt. Now, apparently my dad had died with like owing $380,000 to the IRS, which then freaked me out because I thought that she was actually going to hand me that debt. She's like, oh, you're his next of kin? Then you get the debt. Turns out, joke was on her. When they got married, he never filed the paperwork. So the IRS got fucked because she wasn't his wife. So there you go. Final joke from my dead dad there. But yeah, she thought she was going to pull the, you know, ethics card with me. Like, that's probably why she passed out when I saw her a couple years ago. Actually, I'd seen her before that. When I was in the concentration camp. I went to the doctor to go see Dr. Dink. And she was in the lobby with her Aunt Harriet. And I saw them, and I was in my, you know, concentration camp uniform with the gray shirt and the black pants. And I didn't know it at the time, but she was being treated for breast cancer, which obviously she survived. Yeah. She didn't say anything to me. She knew it was me. But the next time I saw her, obviously, you guys, I was driving that car. No, the marriage was not arranged by Scientology. My dad, when I was 8 years old, my dad and my mom had finally started doing well. My dad, I moved a lot as a kid. People have often asked me, were you an army brat? No, my dad was a con man and would lose our money quite frequently in schemes and bullshit and gambling. So we moved a lot because we couldn't pay the rent. We had to go somewhere else where we could, like, you know, my dad would charm his way into like a month free of rent until he could, like, you know, fucking get it together, or he'd borrow money from someone else or whatever. And when I was 8 years old, my dad was running a very successful painting business where he was painting uber rich people's houses in the Mill Valley area of Northern California. And he was extremely jealous of them, but just to put it mildly. Now, also, he had an enormous amount of PTSD, horrific childhood trauma. And just a cherry on top of all of that mess, Scientology, along with the year prior, he had gotten in a near fatal collision with a center divide while drunk driving that he probably should have died from, but he did not. And so he also had a traumatic brain injury, which changed his personality and became like obsessed with getting rich. Just that obsession never left him. He died still being obsessed with that. So he had this extremely successful painting business to the point where my parents were debt free. They had money in the bank, right? They finally had savings. Like my mom was like, we did it. We're doing it, right? And he decided to take that $5,000 without talking to my mom. And he met a man who convinced him to invest in this highly profitable gold mine in Arizona. Just think on that for a minute, kids. That's right, there are no gold mines in Arizona. And so upon learning of her newly found, once again, poverty, my mother told my father, she thought she was having like a moonstruck moment, right? She's going to slap him, snap out of it. She said she wanted a divorce. And she thought he would say, please don't leave me, And he said, when do you want me out of the house? That was a shit day. That was a shitty day. Begging my dad not to leave and him packing a bag and just walking out. 2 weeks later, we were going to my dad's new apartment across town. We were all living in San Francisco. And we were going to a new apartment, to my dad's new apartment across town. He did not come pick us up. He had now taken a job as a taxi driver. And so he sent a taxi, a friend of his from the cab company, to come pick us up. So I wasn't even 8 yet when this happened. So I was 7.5, which meant that my sister was 4. Yeah. And so little 7.5-year-old me and 4-year-old my sister get in this cab with some unknown man who's driving us to God knows where. We don't even know the address. Now, kids, this is the 80s. There are no cell phones. There's no Find My. My mom could not watch our location as we traveled from our home on Chestnut Street in the marina to South San Francisco, where my father was shacked up in his new apartment, he had like a duplex, right? It was a very long cab ride. I remember that. Anyway, we get out of this cab. It's this little white duplex, and I have a piece of paper that has the address on it. And I look at it and I'm like, okay, I think this is the right place, but I don't know anything about this part of town. Like I've never been here in my life. And so I'm a little nervous. Like we have our bags, we've got our pillows under our arms, I'm holding my sister's hand. And I turn around to maybe talk to the cab driver just to double check, is this really the place? And he's already gone. So I'm like, okay, we are now in an after school special. I'm in charge. So we walk up to the store. I ring the doorbell. And this woman comes to the door, and she has no bra on, like Daisy Duke cut off jean shorts, and just and the reason why I knew she didn't have a bra on is because like I could, she was wearing a white tank top that was very sheer. This tall, willowy woman, with like a pixie haircut. And I'm thinking, what? And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I think we're at the wrong house. And she says, oh, you must be Nora and Sarah. Now I'm on high alert. This strange being knows my name and my sister's name. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Before I can say anything, I'm just standing there in shock. She like just turns like this and she's like, Connie, the girls are here. And I'm like, Connie, what? And up walks my dad with like, cigarette, just looking like Mr. fucking cool, like, hey, boop, 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 And he, like, they do this weird, like, I can only liken it to like some weird Kama Sutra thing where they're just like, there's tongues and then just like this weird kiss. I've never seen my parents do this. Okay. I was like, what in the actual fuck is happening? He introduces us. I'm like, oh, not today, sir. Not fucking today. So I do whatever, any responsible 7.5-year-old would do. I called my mom. I said, Mom, there's this woman here and she's kissing Dad. And, like, this is 2 weeks, guys. 2 weeks. They were not divorced. Nobody even filed paperwork. Oh my God. I could hear my mom. Like, if my mom had the ability to like reach her hands through that telephone receiver and strangle my father to death, she would have. She would have. Yeah, needless to say, a few weeks after that incident and my father getting his ear pierced, what the fuck was that? He came back and tried to like beg my mom to take him back. And my mom was like, are you fucking kidding me? Not on your life. I made a mistake. Yeah, she's like, you bet your fucking ass you did. And oh no, trust me, Brian, trust me. My dad was that guy. My dad was that guy. Right? Like this is the comment I'm responding to, guys. Let me just pull up Brian's thing. My dad was the guy who would walk in a room and everybody was like, who's that? I had women, full-grown women, when I worked at Celebrity Center, and my dad would just come by to visit me. They'd be like, are you sure your dad's can't join? Is he single? Like, he was a panty dropper. It was gross. He'd just go places and women were like throwing themselves at him. He was that guy. So that, being a full-grown adult and knowing all the other things now, it was not shocking to me now. And this story gets crazier because then when they got married, okay, my uncle came to marry them. He was a Seventh-day Adventist minister. He came. And guess who was invited to my father's wedding to his new wife? Yes, very Rico Suave-ish, Gen X biatch. He invited my mother, y'all. He invited my mother to his wedding to his new wife. Okay. So this woman was from Texas money, y'all. Okay. And her parents bought me and my sister pink taffeta dresses Now the name of the store flew out of my head. It was this very, very poshy, fancy store. These dresses. Now this wedding took place, guys, in 1986. No, 1985. He got married because my mom got married the year after, 1986. So 1985, my dad gets married to Kay. And these dresses were like over $200 each in 1980 for children. Okay, children's dresses. Yeah, it was an all-out. Just they had it at the the big garden thing in the middle of the park, in the middle of Golden Gate Park. It's like the arboretum, right? Anyway, so my mom pulls up in her like fucking National Lampoon's vacation station wagon that she's driving. And all my aunties are outside waiting for us to arrive, right? My dad's sisters, all my cousins and stuff that are there, okay? And they're there to like greet us. And his sisters are like, are you coming in? Kathy, are you coming inside? And my mom's like, fuck no, I'm not going into the fuck no. And they're like, I just want you to know, we hate her. And you will always be our sister-in-law. Okay, like, we are not okay with this. Like, they were like, they did not like her. Okay, so my mom doesn't show up. So she leaves. And my sister and I go in. My stepmom's freaking out because we sat on the dresses on the way there. Like, of course we sat on the dresses. We're children. How are we supposed to get their float? And I had tan lines on my back. It was like a scoop back, but I had crisscross tan lines on my back from my racerback swimsuit. And I ruined the wedding with my tan lines. I just want you to know that this woman had the audacity to tell a 9-year-old that they were ruining her wedding with tan lines. Okay. So then my dad asked me, where's your mom? And I was like, she's not coming. And he's like, why not? And I said, Dad, did you really think mom was going to come to watch you get married to somebody else? And his whole face just like, it just fucking sank and he went pale. And I wish I don't have somewhere there's pictures of this wedding. And if you look at my father in the pictures of his wedding, he looks like a ghost. He looks like a literal ghost. Okay. And then years later, after he passed, my mom and I were like reminiscing about my dad one day, and she just started laughing. And I was like, what is so funny? What are you laughing about? And she's like, I was thinking about your dad's wedding to Kay. And I just realized why he invited me. And I was like, what? She goes, when we were together, they had a whole thing where they were together. And then my dad went on this trip from LA to San Francisco, this van trip. And he was in it with a bunch of hippies. And he was, bound to down with this really hot number in the van with him. And he called my mom from some, fucking gas station, was like, it's over. I've been having great sex. And he was like drunk and all this shit. And I don't need you. And you're so bossy and, and all this stuff, right? And they were engaged at the time. And she just said, okay, you don't want to be with me? That's fine. And he was like, what? She's like, yeah. You do you, boo. You have a great time. Sounds like you're already having a good time. I'll see you maybe never. Okay, bye. And she hung up the phone. He started having a panic attack. Like he just was like panicking left and right. He gets to his destination. He's like, I got to get back there. He got literally took a friend's car and drove immediately back to LA. to tell my mom, you don't tell me what to do. I'm with you and you just knock it off. And she was like, okay, I guess. Well, sounds like you changed your mind. And he told her when they got married, he said, listen, I'm only doing this once. And she said, that sounds fine with me. And so he kind of kept his promise because he didn't, he went through a ceremony with Kate, but he didn't file the paperwork. So technically, he didn't actually get married again. And my mom was like, son of a bitch. That is the ultimate con, Sova. And that is very true. That is very true. Yes, I did see that comment earlier that when Jamie was on the interview with T, that he spoke about my dad. That's how I knew Jamie. He worked for my father for a bit. My dad was an enigma. He was one of the funniest, most gregarious, could make anything hilarious kind of guy. But he was a severely damaged person, and it's a very complicated relationship that I'm still untangling in my mind. And like, what would he think of me now? And daddy issues. Oh my God, an American woman with daddy issues? Breaking news. Like, take a fucking number, Nora. Like, Jesus, So all of this is, Johnny and all those kids would come to my house, where I shared a house with my dad. I paid half the rent while he and my stepmother and my sister and her boyfriend all lived in the house and all smoked cigarettes constantly. And then I paid half the rent. That was fair, right? Yeah. And they would come and we would have pizza parties and, our house was like the cool house. It's the cool house to hang at. Because my dad was hilarious. He was just he was fun. He was fun. Yeah, when I thought about that yesterday, and listening to Jamie's interview with Jeff, it just brought back this like flood of things. And I thought, God, the last thing that I thought about Johnny was like, what a fucking asshole. And then I was so sad. So sad when he passed. And I just started feeling this like horrific regret about feeling that, and there's all those like woulda, coulda, shouldas, like what if I had stayed in touch with him? What if I hadn't just, not, maybe I could have saved. It's just so ridiculous. It's so dumb to think any of that could have happened. Maybe there's a universe where I did save him, maybe there's a version of me that made a lot of different choices, but that's not the multiverse that I exist in. I exist in this one where I am deeply flawed and continue to make mistakes constantly. And, I'm just a human with human problems. But the main thing I wanted to say about Johnny and Alex, who also met an excruciatingly tragic end. And I'm connected to Alex in very odd ways. Okay, first of all, we knew each other in the Sea organization, because we were fun. And so fun people always find each other. And when we would have those few brief moments of like, the events and like things where you just got to like let your hair down for 10 minutes, and not be, completely just fucking dogmatic, you would, get to do fun stuff. And Alex was fun. He was a bright, fun kid. And after he left the Sea Org, he became best friends with my brother. He was the best man at my brother's wedding. And I remember seeing him at the dinner before my brother's wedding. And I was giving him a lot of shit. I was like, oh, you're not going to say hi to me, Alex? You're too cool. Too cool to say hi to me. You're also a former member of the fake Space Navy. I don't think you're better than me, And so we kind of like worked it out that, But I could see at that time that this was after he had had the accident, and he was clearly medicating himself with a lot of alcohol. I didn't know about the pills that he was also taking at the time, which he had later become addicted to. And what's really the saddest part is that what I didn't know, that I found out later, is that when Alex was younger, I don't remember how old he was, like 12. Anyway, he was very young. He was raped by a woman who was convinced, of course, that Alex was in love with her, blah, blah, blah. And this happened in Florida. So what happened? Was that woman sent to jail? And when I say woman, like she was in her 30s when this happened. Okay. Was she prosecuted? Did she get excommunicated? No. No, she was sent to the concentration camp, of course, in Los Angeles, in the Big Blue Building. And he was, sent also weirdly to Los Angeles to do stuff in that same complex. So he would spend the next few years while she was there running around in all black, doing hard labor, and he would have to see his attacker all the time because that's where he was working now. Now, part of the hard labor camp that was distinct about it, right, is that the people who went there were supposed to be of a very specific nature. Okay, these were supposed to be people who were really shitty at their job. They just could not, no matter what was done to assist them in improving their ability to do their job, they just were fucking it up everywhere and making life miserable for everyone around them. Okay. Also, people who committed some sort of like financial things, like stealing money or not sending money to the right place or whatever, right? Things of a financial nature would also end you up there. And people who wouldn't ask questions in an interrogation while holding the soup cans connected to the fake lie detector galvanometer. If they got a very bad reaction when they were asked about Lafayette Ronald specifically, those people were considered, dangerous, right? Which meant that they had evil intentions towards Lafayette Ronald. And so they had to be sequestered and fully reprogrammed so that those evil intentions would leave their body. Okay. Now, there was a very big rule in the fake Space Navy that said very clearly, okay, that if you violate the relationship rules inside that organization, okay, now the rules are very strict for relationships, okay? First of all heterosexual. Second of all, no doing anything, and I do mean anything, before marriage. You may kiss, a little bit of tongue, just a little bit, okay? You can hold hands, some hand holding. That's it. No making out, no rubbing, no touch, not even over the clothes. No touching of any parts. Okay. Very, very, it's giving very, Christian summer camp. Okay. Leave room for the good Lord. Putting the balloon between people while they're dancing. Okay. So if you committed the mortal sin of making out with the person you were attracted to and had some wandering hands, or God forbid, had sex, then now what the punishment for that was supposed to be, according to Lafayette Ronald, beaching. Okay, which is a literal term for dropping you off on an island and then just fucking taking off on the boat in tough tits, right? Which translated to like you get the boot. You get the boot. Okay. However, when I was doing the concentration camp, when I was subjected to that, there were at least 250 people there. Okay. Out of those 250 people, 200 of them were there for violating the relationship rules. Okay. So many people continued to violate them. Let's just be honest. That's what happens. It's like Love Island for the fake Space Navy. Okay. So that's why that woman, it was just, now what, you're not supposed to know why somebody else is there. It's supposed to be confidential. Confidential. And so it was rumored that, she had just, done the do. Now she was a counselor. And so people knew she had done the do with somebody she was giving counseling to. I don't believe that any of us knew that she had done the do with Heber Jentzch's kid, who was a child. She was also not the only PDF file among us. Yes, they love to put those there. Yeah. I only found out later. By the way, this woman, I always got like a super weird vibe from her. I thought, this lady is super strange. Like, I know we're all here because we're fucked up and we're, like something's wrong with us. That's why we're here. Like, this is, but that lady, something real wrong with her. I don't know, And then when I found that out, she's on Facebook. She's still out there. I don't know. I keep an eye on her sometimes. I look for her on Facebook to see, what are you doing? The church is never going to press charges against her. I'm sure that they told her if she steps out of line, if she says one word about Scientology, that they will, they'll release the crack. Of course, they're not going to. What she doesn't understand, because she spent 30, 40 years not in the real world, is that they would never, because then they would be complicit in covering up a fucking crime. Right? I don't know if I can still see her on Facebook or not. I'm not going to show her Facebook, everybody. So just calm your tits if you thought I was going to do that. We're not doing that today. Yeah, I don't even know if she's still alive or not. I'll be honest with you. I don't know. Sorry. The Coca-Cola is agitating me today. I'm just going to see if I can see her. A lot of people have me totally blocked on here, because I'm evil, like the fruits of the devil. There she is. Well, her profile picture is from last year. She has grandkids. Wow. I don't know who all these. I'm wondering if she still is in. Because I'm looking at the people commenting on her stuff, and I'm pretty sure some of these people are not. And it says we have 2 mutual friends. She might not be. No, she's, no, she's got Bodie Elfman and Jim Meskimen as friends. So I'm gonna go with she's still a Scientologist. But it is shocking to me to see all of the people that she is friends with, names I have not seen in forever. Because I got to delete my Facebook, guys. I'll be honest with you. It's just, wow. I'm trying to see if any of these people we were on the the concentration camp together. I don't see any of those people just yet. Oh my God. Okay. Somebody's a Scientologist. You want to know the mark if you know somebody's a hardcore Scientologist. If you want to know, I'm going to show you the person who they would absolutely be friends with because she is the Facebook Stasi. Okay. This woman right here, Marcia Powell. She started the Affinity Exchange, which was like the Scientology, grinder. It was a very, very early dating site that she ran. Yeah, I taught her daughter. Works at Self-Employed. Yes, we know. And yeah, if you are her friend on Facebook, then absolutely 100%. Yeah, of course she moved to Clearwater. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, then you're absolutely a Scientologist. 100%. Because that's she's the lady. Look at how she runs the Scientology choir, guys, out there. That's been her thing. Yeah. So stoic. Yeah. This guy too. God, fucking Norm Nowitzki. Well, Bobby's dead, so I don't think you guys are friends anymore. Anyway. Sorry. So morbid. I know too many dead Scientologists. Yeah. Bob was one of my godfathers. He's passed. R.I.P. to Bob. Anyway. Yeah, she's a big time. Yeah, Marcia, man. But that lady who took Alex's innocence from him, she's still kicking. Apparently, she gets to have grandkids. Oh, I have very violent feelings about that. Yeah. Yeah. Anywho. We've taken many circles here. What upset me the most, though, about Alex is, hey, Jeff. Well, I didn't say her name, Jeff. You did. That's okay. I'm still outraged about it, Jeff. They didn't declare her. No. because she did the program. Remember, Jeff? She did the program. She's good now. No, yeah. Yeah. I do want to bring up, though, one thing, Jeff, you just reminded me because you sent me that document, and I want to bring that up for everybody to see here. Let me get that up here. Not my email, but the attachment. So in the talk that Jeff did with Jamie yesterday, they talked a lot about the kids stuff, and similar to what Sheila had talked about, right? If you guys recall, the open. Yes, open it. Thank you. My computer is being very recalcitrant, guys. Okay. So this is, let me just make this bigger because there we go. This is the document that Sheila was talking about yesterday in the video that we watched when she talked about she had been working and all the ladies had just volunteered to not have the babies. And then she was like, uh-oh, hot dog. All these months later, this new thing came out. Now, maybe they edited it by the time I got there, or I was misremembering. It's worse than I remember. So let's read it together. Children, Sea Org members, and Sea Org orgs edition. Now, when I started in 1995, so 4 years after this was written, this was something you had to read before you joined. So you understood if you wanted to have children, this was what you were signing up for. But it was preferable that you don't have kids. Okay. This quote from Lafayette Ronald here: we handle the first self and the second sex and family only to achieve better function on the third and fourth, which is groups and all mankind. So important. The Sea Org is the only group which is taking complete responsibility to handle the whole planet. The ultimate responsibility to clear this planet lays with the Sea Org. This is a huge task and a very large responsibility. It requires complete dedication and determination from its staff. The Sea Org is not set up to handle or take care of children. Let's read that again. The Sea Org is not set up to handle or take care of children. That sounds like an admission of guilt to me. The Sea Org members getting children, actually, that is an admission of guilt. For all of you born into the Sea Organization, this is an admission from Guillaume Lesèvre, who I believe might still be alive. They done fucked up. Sea Org members getting children has resulted in unpractical burden on the Sea Org units and inhibited their efficiency. Now, do understand that French, English, I think, is Guillaume's like third language. So no Sea Org, that's what SO means, installation has the job of making future Sea Org members for 20 years from now. Let's read that again. The Sea Org is not set up to handle or take care of children. Sea Org members getting children, that's his rendition of giving birth, has resulted in unpractical burden on the Sea Org, rude, and inhibited their efficiency. So no Sea Org installation has the job of making future Sea Org members for 20 years from now. So in 2011, they should have been like, all right, guys, make a baby, but they didn't. Therefore, Sea Org members who have new children will not be allowed to remain on duty in Sea Org units. Such Sea Org members will be sent to Class 5 Org for duty. And in order to infuse Sea Org productivity, now Class 5 Org would be like, for example, the Valley Org, that, or even here the Portland Org, where I have gone to protest, right? And to infuse Sea Org productivity and thus help the assigned Class 5 Org expand. This issue establishes the exact lines to be used when a Sea Org member begets a child. Ready? Here's how it's supposed to go. A list of non-expanding, small, distant from central Sea Org operations, so far, far, far away from where you were working, is drawn up by this person. This is the senior, this is the person who's in charge of this is the HR department. Okay. This would be like the HR and the morals department. Okay. But this is the international person. Okay. This list will cover the only orgs where Sea Org members who beget a child will be sent. The list requires approval from this other division and the executive director international. That's him, Guillaume, and will be the only orgs authorized for Sea Org parents. Married Sea Org members currently posted they're doing their job in Sea Org orgs who beget a child will be sent to a small, non-expanding Class 5 org from the authorized list of orgs. They may not be posted in the Class 5 org closest to the place where they're at right now, or any other org not on the authorized list. The exact procedure to be followed is this. Once it is, oh, son of a biscuit. Once it is known that a Sea Org member in a Sea Org org or unit is pregnante, this person, okay, this is the individual under this person in any organization that's like in control of giving people the jobs that they're supposed to do, okay, of the org where the parents are posted must notify their international counterpart immediately by dispatch. Okay, that's a telex. It's like, electronic email of the time with the personnel and ethics folders of the parents attached. So this is all of the information they've ever kept on you about your job and all of the bad things and some, good stuff thrown in there for good measure. These two different folders, they're going to be sent. Okay. Then that senior international person orders that person where they work to get those two people replaced and have them report to this like international level. Now they have to go to this other building, which is actually at the building at Hollywood and Ivar. Okay. It is the responsibility of the local person to get the concerned Sea Org members replaced. Failure to get these Sea Org members replaced within a reasonable time period, okay, not to exceed 60 days, or withholding the fact, sunny beaches, or withholding the fact that there are pregnant Sea Org members in the org will result in, basically, this is a tribunal, okay, on that person, all the other people, all the way up to the head person at the organization, as well as the couple that's pregnant. Okay, page 2 now pop up. There we go. The continental HR person, okay, will also be subject of this tribunal if found to be neglecting the enforcement of this written thing here. Okay, so when they get to that building, the parents are placed on a checklist, okay, which gets them through any interrogations they have to have. Okay, that's what ethics handling means. That's interrogations and correction, more interrogations, as well as training for their new jobs. So nice. Free training, guys. Why is everybody upset they get free training? The parents are overseen and gotten through this this checklist by that person. Okay. Their jobs are determined as part of the checklist they're on. And his responsibility of that person includes the approval, blah, 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 upon completion of their training. Now, mind you, one of them is pregnante. Okay. And they will have to be doing this interrogations and training, okay, intensive indoctrination for 10 hours a day while pregnante. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And probably also doing some hard labor because you're discussed. Okay. They'll be sent. Now they're getting sent to a place that is failing. So they're going to write a whole program to handle the failing place that they're going to. And that's why they're going there, right? And see, garrison mission. Okay. Now this is the part that I must have misread. Once the child reaches 6 years of age, and is able to hold a post in a cadet org, that would be the ranch, the pack, the place where Jamie was housed and corralled, and Lara and Mike Brown, right? One of those places. The parents they're eligible. They're eligible for returning to the fake Space Navy, provided that they have visibly expanded that failing piece of shit place that they were at. In this case, the parents are to contact and inform the vet's return officer. There's never been one of those. Like even calling them vets, calling them a vet. Like how much stolen valor can we fucking do here? Anyway, that they're now ready to return to the fake Space Navy for active duty. They confirm it. They look over all the stuff. Okay. And then they get what they get. They don't even go back to their old jobs. Failure to follow these policies and keeping a pregnant fake Space Navy member in the fake Space Navy organization in violation of this will result in a tribunal. But guys, once your kid is 6 and they're able to hold a job with other children's, come on down. Come on back. Your kid is 7. What the fuck have you been doing for that extra year? This lazy ass kid. What the fuck? Okay, that's from Captain. Guys, let's don't get it twisted. Captain Guillaume Lucerve, Executive Director International. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Very special. Very special. The flag orders only come in black and white. They're like super plain sauce. That's just what they look like. Yeah. 6 years old, guys. 6. 6. Yeah. Yeah. That's the stuff we grew up with, guys. When you were 6 years old, you were expected to be ready to do work, hold a job, do construction, follow directions perfectly the first time you tell them. You know what I remember about my kids when they were 6? I couldn't get them to pick up Legos without having a complete meltdown. Nap time was a fucking nightmare. A 6-year-old Have they not been to a first grade class? Like organizing a classroom of first graders to finger paint is a lot. But, hey, when you're part of a fake space navy that is responsible for saving all of mankind, we can't have distractions like bibis. It's inefficient. It's inefficient. And then, of course, as Sheila admitted, people turned to the big A. And many girls and women were forced to go get abortions against their will. Yeah. Well, okay. And I should have brought this up yesterday when we were talking about the kids, and I forgot. But I don't forget now. So let me pull this up here. No, that's not the one I want. I don't want that. Nora, come on now. It is. It's here. There we go. It's still open to the right page. Let's go to Lafayette Ronald's words. This is the admin dictionary. Okay, hang on. Let me make this bigger. There we go. I like that better. Please hold. Okay. So this is the admin dictionary. Where am I? Why am I not on the page? Hang on. There I am. I'll just keep myself here. All right. It's me. It's a Mario. Okay. So this is the admin dictionary, okay? This is the stuff that Lafayette Ronald wrote. And as you can see, there's this little drawing here. Oh, no. Nora, put it back. Okay, we're good. There's this little sketch here of a child with a naval cap on. Let's look at the definition of cadet. We're going to go back up a page. Cadet. Any child who has passed his staff status 2 or able-bodied seaman or engine room check sheet and has a job, a post, which he is holding in the fake space navy and who has either good ethics record is hereafter to be referred to not in a generality of children. No. They are not a children. No. But as a cadet. A cadet has rank equal to a deckhand or motorman. So a child is someone, and we'll go to the definition of child here in a minute, who hasn't done all of that indoctrination. This is the cadet organization. It will be a 7-division organization manned by, oh, wait a minute. I thought they weren't children anymore. It's so confusing. Lafayette Ronald. Who have actual jobs. It's org board, like the little, chart that shows you who's the boss and goes down, right? Like in a regular job. Okay. Must be planned out, must be standard. Any discipline goes through that organization. They must, every one of them, be trained, like for the job, unless they are signed up fake Space Navy members. The children are used in the galley or estates, like cleaning the grounds, painting, construction, okay? Only. There must be a nursery. We know how that worked out. There must be quartermasters on duty as reception. There must be a stable personnel, and there only could be if this were to have the status of an organization. So it has to be, in Lafayette Ronald's mind, a real functional corporation. When he says organization, it's like I want you to imagine a corporation, okay? Because that's what he's talking about. You want quarters, okay? That's their bedrooms, where you can have a baby care unit, dormitories, kitchens, and moderate space for this cadet corporation, desks, counseling, and, corrections functions. Why should they be miserable and knocked about when they can have their own corporation that they're just in charge of for themselves and be respected and demand respect from their elders as well and feel proud of themselves? The real trick is to get them over to cause without their having to use naughtiness to be at covert cause. Okay. Let's just go down in the seas here. Oh, here's a drawing of children. Somebody was like, I'm going to put them in the peanut shirt. This is a teen, and she's got an owie because she's naughty. People who have not passed check sheets, they've not done the indoctrination, they can't do it, and have no paid jobs in the fake space Navy. A child is one who cannot handle, a corporation or a ship yet. He or she is not on the payroll. We're not paying for that. That is the way that Lafayette Ronald defined children and defined a cadet. A cadet is someone who, because they do the indoctrination correctly and they can do a job in this corporation that is like Lord of the Flies, supposed to be run by the children for the children, they can then demand respect from their parents. Notice he doesn't refer to parents there anywhere. Simply their elders. Their elders. I don't think he defines the word parent anywhere. I'm going to go to P just to see. I don't think he has that word. I feel like I'm in the Princess Bride. I don't think that word means what you think it means. Oh. No. He doesn't define just parent, but he does have the parent or guardian assent form. The form, when used, this form is used when a minor, I think this is supposed to be consent, assent. Is that like I think he meant consent. Anyway, when a minor wants to do, indoctrination, this form is to be filled in by the parent or guardian of the minor concerned and is a prerequisite before any Dianetics or Scientology or counselor testing indoctrination can be undertaken. Okay. Oh, the Parents Committee, a committee formed in the fake space Navy, consisting of all fake space Navy members with children, small children, bibbies, or cadets under the care of the fake space Navy. The Parents Committee is put up, like on the check it out board. The purpose of the Parents Committee is to iron out money. This is insane. The purpose of the Parents Committee is to iron out money, facilities, and ensure the proper care and upbringing of cadets, children, small children, and babies. So, yeah, children are different than small children, which are different than babies, and are totally different than cadets. I think that just these definitions alone, y'all, just these definitions alone should literally clear up, hopefully, whatever misunderstanding everybody has, the confusion going on how Lafayette Ronald viewed minors in general. Yeah. Okay, let's get to the comments and questions here. I've blabbed enough. Good night. Let's check out the comments here. Emotional dysregulation and disassociation are highlights of CPTSD. Survivors need grace. Thank you for that. That is very true. That is very true. Thank you. Thank you, Marla. Thank you for the hugs. I appreciate that. In Connecticut, that's what hot sandwiches are called, grinders. I love the East Coast. It's so wild. It's ironic. Thank you for that, Amy. It's ironic the policy calls them children, yet they don't believe they are children, right? Right? Oh, no. It's just he's a complete conundrum. Questions. Did I ask my mom why on earth she was invited? Well, that's what we discovered later, Stacy. That's what we discovered later, was that my dad had only wanted to have one wife. Aubrey, Connecticut. Okay, now we're going to have a whole debate on grinders. I'm going to let you East Coast fam, sort that. If they were born at one of the hospitals I worked at, you worked at the neonatal department? I hope so. Yeah, of course you would. Of course you would have. Of course you would have. Yeah, guys. I mean, the truth of the matter is that I'm gonna bring it back. We're gonna all roads right now are leading back to Jamie Mustard in a good way, in the best way possible right now. I do sincerely mean that. And of course I have these up still from yesterday, and I was going to share them anyway, but don't forget, the book is coming out. What's the date today? It's the 8th. In 21 days, guys. We should get like a countdown for Jamie's, so I could just have like a countdown counter. I'll figure that out, and I'll have a permanent countdown counter. But we're having the event. I say we, like I'm in charge of it. The event is occurring at the Powell's, City of Books there, right there, 1005 West Burnside, in Portland, Oregon, 97209. On Tuesday, July 29th. And we are having tacos. Ann Castillas was generous enough to send us some money for some tacos and some drinks. You can hit up the PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo for the taco fund. I told Jamie we're doing it because Ann said so. 7 p.m. I know it's a school night, guys. But let's do it. Let's show up in numbers. Let's get out there. Rika PDX is going to be live streaming it. And if you haven't pre-ordered your copy yet, guys, I'm going to put the link in the chat. Pre-order your copy. Pre-order your copy. Get it. I've got it in my hot little hands. I could not put it down. I finished reading it. Here it is. It's my book. I read it. I did a really good job. I try, guys, I do try to not I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest. Confession time. True confession time. As you can see behind me, most of my books are paperback. I'm a paperback queen. I love paperback books. I'm not usually a fan of hardback books just because, like, you know, like I just don't enjoy having to hold it a certain way when I'm reading. And I don't know. It's so weird, right? But I don't give a fuck. This could be in a paper bag. It doesn't matter. But I did notice something the other day. I thought of it while I was talking to Jamie because I was making the thumbnail for one of my lives. And I realized, that this book had a very similar color scheme, but like the opposite of a book that we have talked about here. Oh, it's Dianetics. Do you guys notice, is it just me? Or do you also notice that the Child X book is like, color scheme wise, it's like the exact opposite, right? Of Dianetics, which I think is fucking great and brilliant. It's just fucking amazing. Also, right now on the Amazon bestseller list and books about Scientology, Jamie's book is number 1 and Dianetics is number 2. Which just tickles me. It just tickles me. It tickles me that, Jamie's beating Lafayette Ronald right now. And that is fantastic. So if you haven't gotten it, get it, read it, absorb it, understand it. This is the whole enchilada, guys. This is why people are out protesting. This is why anyone has ever come forward to talk about Scientology. And I don't mean Jamie. No offense to my friend Jamie. I mean what has been systematically done to, as Jamie has coined so eloquently, the lost generation of Scientology. And as you saw yesterday, when I brought up those adverts from England, they are still doing it right now. There's only one way this stops. And that's for everybody to speak up. Yeah. So listen, guys, we're going to continue our deep dive down the Scientology time machine. I may need to take an extra day just to get my, I have a huge pile of tissues in front of me. Guys, I got to get my shit together. Yeah. But this is very important. It's important work. And I'm grateful to all of you for tuning in to, talk me through my feels today and listen to my, my recollections of friends who are no longer here. We're going to get into it more. I'm going to try and keep, giving you guys as much truth as I can and giving you guys, the best analysis in the business, okay, on what's going on, what these things mean, and translating it for you guys so that you can get out there and tell your congressman, tell your mayor, tell your, everybody from the ground level up in government why these places have to be shut down. Okay. That's it for me today, guys. Thank you so much to my mods. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. And yeah. And thank you to Johnny and Alex, wherever you guys are. I love you. And I'll see you all on the flippity dippity.
It's time for a What's Up with Nora. Ooh, hey. What's up with that? Ooh, hey. What's up with Nora? Ooh, hey. What's up with that?
No. Well.